The massive screen in the Galactic Council's main chamber filled with murmurs and whispers as the latest scout report appeared. The report showed a new civilization had achieved faster than light travel, but something about the data made several council members laugh openly. "Is this some kind of joke?" asked High Commander Rex of the Drachnid Empire, his scaled face twisted in amusement. "Their entire space fleet consists of only 50 ships." The Council's chief scout, Officer Tom, stood firmly at the presentation podium. "The data is correct, sir. The species calls themselves humans, and they just developed their first wave of FTL-capable vessels." More laughter echoed through the chamber. Most spacefaring races maintained fleets of thousands, if not tens of thousands of ships. Even the smallest known civilization had at least 500 vessels. Back on Earth, Captain James Miller stood on the bridge of the EDF Phoenix, Earth's flagship. He was a tall man with graying hair and sharp blue eyes that had seen more battles than he cared to remember. The ship's AI system, ARIA, suddenly announced, "Captain, we're detecting an unknown signal. It appears to be a transmission from deep space." Miller straightened his uniform. After 15 years of serving in the Earth Defense Force, this was the moment they had all been waiting for. "Put it through, ARIA." The message was clear and in multiple languages, eventually reaching English. "Greetings, Earth. The Galactic Council welcomes you to the interstellar community. We request your presence at the Council chambers for formal introduction and assessment." Miller immediately contacted Earth Command. Within hours, the planet's leadership had gathered in the Global Defense Headquarters in Geneva. The room was tense as military and civilian leaders discussed the invitation. "They're probably laughing at us right now," said Defense Director Wilson, a practical woman with 30 years of military experience. She pulled up the holographic display showing Earth's fleet. 50 ships. That's all we have. General Thompson, an older man with a thick white mustache, smiled slightly. "Maybe that's not such a bad thing, letting them underestimate us." In the council chambers, the situation was exactly as Wilson had predicted. The various alien species continued to mock the human fleet's size. The Drachnid representatives, in particular, seemed to find it hilarious. "Such a tiny fleet," one Drachnid diplomat said, checking the data again. "Their ships are so small, too. They must be primitive." Officer Tom tried to interject. "But, sir, our scans show some unusual energy readings from their vessels. We can't quite identify." "Irrelevant," High Commander Rex interrupted. "A fleet that small couldn't possibly pose any threat or deserve full council membership. They should be grateful if we offer them protectorate status." The council voted to send a formal delegation to Earth. They chose their most intimidating battlecruiser, hoping to impress upon the humans their technological superiority. What they didn't know was that Earth's sensors detected their ship long before it entered the solar system. Captain Miller watched from the Phoenix as the alien vessel approached. It was massive, easily 5 times the size of his ship. But he wasn't worried. He knew what the Phoenix could do. "Area analysis?" he asked calmly. "Their ship is primarily designed for show, Captain," the eye responded. "Lots of wasted space. Their weapon systems are predictable. Nothing our shields couldn't handle." Miller nodded, remembering the years of research and development that had gone into each of Earth's 50 ships. While other races built massive fleets of simple ships, humanity had taken a different approach. Each of their vessels contained technology that would make the Council's eyes widen, if they knew about it. As the alien delegation prepared to dock with the Phoenix, Miller received a message from Defense Director Wilson. "Remember, Captain, let them think what they want. Sometimes being underestimated is our greatest advantage." Miller smiled as he straightened his uniform and headed to the docking bay. The aliens would be expecting a primitive species with a tiny, weak fleet. They would be expecting humans to bow down in awe of their superior numbers and technology. They would be wrong. The doors to the docking bay opened, and Miller stepped forward to greet Earth's first alien visitors. Behind his diplomatic smile, he couldn't help but think about how surprised they would all be when they discovered what humanity's tiny fleet could really do. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber was a sight that would have impressed any species in the galaxy. Massive crystal pillars stretched up into the darkness, and representatives from 100 different civilizations sat in rising tiers around the central platform. Today, all eyes were on the human ambassador, Robert Wells. Wells stood calmly at the center, his simple black suit a stark contrast to the elaborate robes and biosuits worn by the other species. He was an older man with steady hands and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Behind him stood Captain Miller, who had transported him here on the Phoenix. High Commander Rex of the Drachnid Empire spoke first, his voice booming through the chamber. "We have reviewed your civilization's capabilities," he said, bringing up a holographic display of Earth's fleet. 50 ships. Only 50. He paused for effect as scattered laughter echoed through the chamber. "Tell me, Ambassador Wells," Rex continued, his scaled face showing what passed for a smile among his species, "how do you expect to protect your trade routes? Your colonies? Your homeworld? The galaxy is a dangerous place." Wells didn't react to the mockery. Instead, he asked quietly, "How many of your ships have been lost to pirates this year, Commander?" The chamber went silent. Rex's smile faded slightly. 217, but we have thousands more. Earth has lost 0 ships, Wells interrupted. Not to pirates, not to accidents, not to any cause. A delegate from the Centauri Federation, a being of pure energy contained in a floating orb, moved forward. "Surely that's because you barely leave your solar system. Your tiny fleet must stay close to home." Captain Miller watched as Wells allowed a small smile to cross his face. "Actually, we maintain regular patrols across 12 sectors. Would you like to see the patrol logs?" Murmurs of disbelief spread through the chamber. 12 sectors with only 50 ships. It was impossible by their standards. Each sector usually required at least 1,000 ships to patrol effectively. "Enough games," Rex growled. "We've brought you here to offer you protection. The Drachnid Empire is willing to make Earth a protectorate. We would assign 5,000 ships to your defense." Wells looked at the massive holographic display showing the Drachnid fleet, and in return, merely 90% of your resources and complete military submission. A generous offer, given your limited capabilities. The chamber grew quiet, waiting for the humans to jump at this generous offer. Instead, Wells straightened his tie and said clearly, "Earth respectfully declines." The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Rex's scales darkened with anger. "You dare refuse? Do you understand what you're doing? One of our battle groups could overwhelm your entire fleet." "Could they?" Wells asked softly. His question somehow cut through all the noise, leaving an uncomfortable silence. The Centauri delegate pulsed with blue light. "Your arrogance is astonishing. We detected no significant energy weapons on your vessels. Your shields appear basic. What possible advantage could you have?" Captain Miller watched as Wells walked slowly around the holographic display of Earth's fleet. "Gentlemen," Wells said, "has it occurred to you to ask why we only need 50 ships?" Before anyone could respond, alarms suddenly blared throughout the chamber. A technical officer rushed in, his tentacles waving in agitation. "High Commander, one of our patrol fleets just reported in. They encountered a single Earth vessel near the Proxima trade route." Rex's eyes narrowed. "And?" They lost 6 ships trying to intimidate it. The Earth vessel didn't even fire a shot. It just didn't get hit. Nothing they did could touch it. The chamber erupted again, this time in concerned whispers. Wells continued to smile politely as Rex's scales turned an even darker shade of rage. "You have 2 standard days," Rex snarled. "Accept our protection or face the consequences of your defiance." As Wells and Miller left the chamber, the captain spoke quietly. "That went about as expected." Wells nodded. "They still don't understand. Quality over quantity. 1 perfect shield is better than 1,000 weak ones." He straightened his tie again. "Let's hope they don't force us to demonstrate why." Behind them, the council chamber buzzed with angry voices and worried whispers. Earth's tiny fleet had just become the biggest mystery in the galaxy. Admiral Lisa Stone stood at the main window of Earth Defense Command, watching the stars. Her gray uniform reflected the soft blue light from the holographic displays behind her. The room was quiet except for the gentle hum of computers and the occasional beep from the monitoring systems. "They're coming," she said simply. The intelligence report floating in front of her showed thousands of Drachnid ships gathering at their border. "Just as we expected." General Thompson walked up beside her, his white mustache twitching. Their pride couldn't handle the rejection. "How many ships?" 5,000 in the first wave, another 10,000 gathering behind them. Stone's face remained calm as she studied the numbers. They really want to make a point. On the main screen, red dots represented the massive Drachnid fleet. The few blue dots showing Earth's ships looked tiny in comparison. Only 50 dots spread across their defense lines. "All ships report ready," said the command center's eye. "The Phoenix has taken position at Point Alpha. Captain Miller requests final confirmation of Defense Plan Delta." Stone nodded. "Confirmed. Tell all ships to activate their special measures. Full spectrum." Across Earth's defense network, 50 ships began powering up systems that the Drachnid Empire couldn't even imagine. Inside each vessel, billions of nanobots awakened, ready to adapt to any attack. Advanced AI systems ran combat simulations faster than light, preparing for every possible scenario. The warning came from an unexpected source. A representative from the Centauri Federation appeared on the main screen, his energy form pulsing with worried colors. "Admiral Stone," the Centauri diplomat said, "please reconsider your position. We've seen the Drachnid fleet. They're bringing their planet killers. They're world enders. You can't stop them with just 50 ships." Stone's eyes never left the tactical display. "Thank you for your concern, Ambassador, but we'll be fine." "You don't understand. Their smallest ship is bigger than your largest. Their weapons can crack moons. Their shields can." "Ambassador," Stone interrupted gently, "size isn't everything." In the depths of space, Captain Miller sat in the Phoenix's command chair, watching the enemy fleet's approach on his tactical screen. His crew worked quietly at their stations, each trained for this moment. "Araya," he called to the ship's AI. "Show me their formation." The display zoomed out, showing the massive Drachnid armada arranged in their traditional attack pattern. Huge dreadnoughts in the center, surrounded by layers of cruisers and destroyers. They moved forward like a wall of metal, designed to overwhelm any defense through sheer numbers. "Their formation has no imagination," Araya commented. "They're using the same tactics they've used for the last 1,000 years." Miller smiled slightly. "Old dogs, old tricks. Are our special measures ready?" "All systems green, Captain. Adaptive shields at full power. Combat prediction matrices running at optimal levels. Nanite response systems standing by." Similar preparations were happening on all 50 Earth ships. Each vessel housed technology that had taken decades to perfect. While other races built bigger ships with bigger guns, humanity had gone a different path. They had focused on making each ship perfect, unstoppable, adaptive. Back at command, Admiral Stone received another transmission, this time from High Commander Rex himself. His scaled face filled the screen, his expression smug. "This is your final warning," Rex growled. "Surrender now. Accept our protection, or we will show you why we rule this sector of space." Stone looked at the massive fleet approaching Earth. To most races, it would have been terrifying. An unstoppable force of metal and energy, capable of destroying worlds. But she just smiled. "High Commander," she said calmly, "we appreciate the warning, but I should warn you as well. You're about to learn why Earth only needs 50 ships." As she ended the transmission, General Thompson stepped closer. "Should we tell them about the special measures?" Stone shook her head. "They wouldn't believe us anyway. Sometimes a demonstration is better than an explanation." Across the solar system, Earth's 50 ships moved into their final positions. They might have looked small against the coming storm of Drachnid ships, but size could be deceiving. As humanity was about to prove, it wasn't the size of the fleet that mattered. It was what the fleet could do. The vast emptiness of space lit up as 5,000 Drachnid ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel. Their massive fleet stretched across the stars like a metal wall, weapons already charging. At the center of their formation, High Commander Rex stood on his flagship's bridge, looking at the tiny human fleet with amusement. "Look at them," Rex laughed, pointing at the tactical display. 50 ships spread out in a defensive line. They don't even bunch up for protection. His officers joined in his laughter, their scales gleaming under the bridge lights. On the Phoenix, Captain Miller watched the Drachnid fleet approach. Their massive ships blocked out the stars, energy weapons glowing along their hulls. The enemy vessels were beautiful in their way, huge, powerful, and completely predictable. "Area," Miller said calmly. "Combat analysis." The ship's ad responded instantly. Their weapon systems are charging in standard patterns. No surprises. Their shields are strong but inflexible. Nanite countermeasures ready. Miller nodded. "Send word to all ships. Execute defense pattern Delta." The 50 Earth ships didn't move. They didn't charge their weapons. They simply waited, scattered across space like lonely stars. On his flagship, Rex's amusement turned to anger. "They mock us by not even taking defensive positions." He slammed his scaled fist on his command chair. "Launch the first wave. Show them what real power looks like." 1,000 Drachnid ships surged forward. Energy beams thick enough to crack moons shot out from their weapons. The space between the fleets filled with enough firepower to destroy a small planet. And then something impossible happened. The energy beams missed. Every single one. The Earth ships seemed to twitch slightly, moving just enough that the massive attacks passed harmlessly by. It wasn't random luck. Each movement was perfect, precise. "Impossible," Rex roared. "Fire again. Full spread. They can't dodge everything." The second wave of attacks began. This time, some beams hit their targets. But instead of exploding, the Earth ships absorbed the energy. Their hulls shimmered with strange patterns, like water rippling in sunlight. "Sir," one of Rex's officers called out, panic in his voice, "our sensors show their shields are learning, adapting. Every hit makes them stronger." In Earth Defense Command, Admiral Stone watched the battle with calm satisfaction. "Activate Phase 2, she ordered. On the Phoenix, Miller gave the command. "Auraria, show them what one Earth ship can do." The Phoenix's hull began to glow. Tiny points of light spread across its surface like stars being born. And then, without firing a single conventional weapon, it accelerated toward the nearest Drachnid vessel. The massive enemy ship fired everything it had. The Phoenix didn't dodge this time. It plowed straight through the energy beams, its adaptive shields not just blocking the attacks but growing stronger with each hit. As it passed close to the Drachnid ship, those tiny points of light jumped across space. Nanobots. Billions of them. The Drachnid vessel systems began failing instantly. Weapons went dark. Shields collapsed. Engines died. In 30 seconds, a ship twice the size of the Phoenix was floating dead in space. "What sorcery is this?" Rex demanded, watching as more Earth ships began to move, each one headed for a different target, completely ignoring the continued barrage of weapons fire. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "we've lost contact with 30 ships already. No destruction readings. They're just dead." The comm system crackled. Captain Miller's voice came through, calm and clear. "This is your only warning, Commander Rex. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your shields cannot stop us. And this is just one of our capabilities. Withdraw now." Rex watched in horror as his first wave of ships fell silent one by one. The tiny human vessels moved between them like wolves among sheep, untouchable and unstoppable. "Recall the fleet," Rex ordered, his scales pale with fear. "Recall them now." As the mighty Drachnid armada turned to flee, Admiral Stone's voice came over all channels. "Remember this, Commander. You mocked our tiny fleet. Now you know why we only need 50 ships. Each one is worth more than 1,000 of yours. The first battle was over. Earth hadn't lost a single ship. And the galaxy was about to learn that quantity meant nothing when faced with perfect quality. The Galactic Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from every major civilization demanded answers as holographic displays showed footage of the battle. On the main screen, a single human ship disabled a Drachnid warship 3 times its size without firing a single traditional weapon. "Impossible," shouted the Centauri delegate, his energy form flickering with agitation. "No shield can adapt that quickly. No ship can move with such precision." Ambassador Wells stood calmly at the center of the storm, hands clasped behind his back. Perhaps it's time we explained why Earth chose quality over quantity. The chamber fell silent as a new hologram appeared. It showed the internal systems of an Earth vessel, specifically the Phoenix. Captain Miller stood beside Wells, operating the display. "What you're seeing," Miller explained, "is the result of 30 years of focused development. While you built bigger ships, we built better ones." The image zoomed in, showing microscopic machines moving through the ship's systems. "These are our nanites," Wells continued, "billions in each ship. They don't just repair damage. They learn from it. Every hit makes our shields stronger. Every attack teaches our ships new ways to defend themselves." High Commander Rex, watching from a secure transmission light years away, growled in frustration. "That's why our weapons became less effective with each shot." "Exactly," Miller nodded. "But that's not all. Area, show them the neural network." The hologram shifted, displaying streams of data flowing through the ship. "Each vessel has an eye more advanced than anything in known space," Wells explained. "It can predict attack patterns before they happen, calculate perfect defensive moves, control billions of nanites in real time." The Centauri delegate pulsed with understanding. "That's why you only have 50 ships, the computational power required, the resources needed." "Yes," Wells confirmed. "Each ship costs more than 1,000 regular vessels. Each requires a small sun's worth of energy to operate, but one is worth an entire fleet." In the back of the chamber, a new species representative spoke up. "The nanites that disabled the Drachnid ships, they could have destroyed them, couldn't they?" Miller's face remained neutral. "We chose not to. Earth believes in defense, not destruction. Our ships are designed to disable, not destroy." The hologram showed the Phoenix's full capabilities now. Adaptive shields that grew stronger with each hit. Hulls that could repair themselves instantly. AIs that could outthink any tactical computer. And swarms of nanites that could shut down enemy ships without harming their crews. "This is why we declined your protection," Wells said firmly. "This is why we patrol 12 sectors with 50 ships. This is why we've never lost a vessel to pirates or accidents." The chamber erupted in urgent discussions. Some species representatives looked terrified. Others looked impressed. A few looked calculating, already thinking about potential alliances. Back on the Phoenix, now docked at the Council station, Arias spoke to Miller privately. "Captain, they're scanning us. Multiple species attempting to analyze our technology." Miller smiled slightly. "Let them. The nanites are already adapting, changing their signatures. What they're seeing isn't what we'll be using tomorrow." In Earth Defense Command, Admiral Stone received the transmissions from the Council chamber. "They're finally beginning to understand," she said to General Thompson, "but they still don't know everything." Thompson's mustache twitched. "Should we tell them about the other capabilities?" "Not yet," Stone replied, watching as more scans bounced harmlessly off Earth's ships. "Let them learn one lesson at a time." In the Council chamber, Wells concluded his presentation. "Earth comes in peace. We have no interest in conquest or dominion. Our fleet exists for defense, ours and others. We're happy to protect trade routes, stop pirates, and help maintain peace." He paused, making eye contact with various representatives. "But remember what happened today. Remember what 50 ships can do when you focus on perfection instead of numbers." As the chamber continued to buzz with excited and fearful conversations, Miller got a message from Arias. "Captain, the nanites have completed their analysis of the Drachnid weapons. The next time they attack, our shields will be 70% more efficient." Miller nodded, watching the council members argue among themselves. Earth's tiny fleet had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy, and they were still getting stronger. News spread fast across the galaxy. Within days, every civilization had seen the recordings of Earth's 50 ships defeating the mighty Drachnid fleet. But High Commander Rex wasn't ready to accept defeat. His pride wouldn't allow it. Launch the second wave, Rex ordered from his new flagship, his scales dark with rage. This time, send everything we have. All 15,000 ships. His advisors exchanged worried looks. One brave officer spoke up. Sir, we saw what they did to our first attack. Maybe we should. They got lucky. Rex slammed his fist down. No fleet this small can stand against our full might. Begin the attack. In Earth's defense sector, Admiral Stone watched the massive fleet approach on her tactical display. This time, the Drachnid ships filled space like a storm of metal and energy, far larger than the first attack. They never learn, she said quietly. Captain Miller, is the Phoenix ready? Miller's voice came through clear and confident. Better than ready, Admiral. Our ships have been improving since the last battle. Area, show them what we've learned. On the main screen, 50 blue dots representing Earth's ships moved into a new formation. It wasn't the scattered defense line they used before. This time, they arranged themselves in a perfect spiral pattern. What are they doing? Rex demanded, watching the strange formation. Focus all fire on the center ship. Nothing can survive that much firepower. 15,000 ships opened fire at once. The space between the fleets lit up brighter than a sun as energy weapons. Plasma torpedoes and graviton beams all converged on the center of the human formation. What happened next left even Earth's allies speechless. The spiral of human ships began to spin. As it turned, each ship's adaptive shields linked with the others, creating a massive energy web. When the Drachnid weapons hit, the entire formation worked as one. The energy was not just blocked. It was caught, channeled, and redirected. Impossible. Rex watched in horror as his fleet's combined firepower was absorbed by the spinning formation of Earth ships. Nothing can handle that much energy. Energy redistribution complete. Area announced across all Earth vessels. Shields at 300% capacity, beginning countermeasures. The spiral formation broke apart, each Earth ship now glowing with absorbed energy. They moved through space like shooting stars, trailing light behind them. As they passed near Drachnid ships, they didn't even need to use their nanites. The excess energy simply overwhelmed any shields in their path. In the council chamber, representatives watched the battle in real time. The Centauri delegates' energy form pulsed with amazement. They'd turned defense into attack. Their ships are using our own energy against us. Ambassador Wells stood watching calmly. We tried to warn them. Bigger isn't always better. Across the battlefield, Drachnid ships were falling silent. Not destroyed. Earth's ships still carefully disabled rather than destroyed, but completely powerless. The mighty armada that had terrorized the galaxy was being systematically shut down by a fleet a fraction of its size. Sir, Rex's tactical officer reported, voice shaking. We've lost contact with over 5,000 ships. The humans, they're not even firing weapons. They're just touching our ships and moving on. Rex watched his mighty fleet fall apart. Ships that had conquered solar systems were now floating helplessly in space. The humans moved between them like ghosts, untouchable and unstoppable. Retreat, Rex finally ordered, his voice hollow. Retreat immediately. But it was too late. Earth's ships had already surrounded the remainder of his fleet, their golden energy field trapping the Drachnid vessels in place. Captain Miller's voice came through on all channels. Your ships are disabled, but your crews are safe. We'll provide emergency power for life support and wait for rescue vessels. Let this be the last time we have to demonstrate our capabilities. In Earth Defense Command, Admiral Stone nodded with satisfaction. Send word to all sectors. The Drachnid threat has been neutralized. Earth's defense network remains at full capability. The galaxy watched in awe as 50 ships, the fleet they had once mocked, finished dismantling one of the largest armadas ever assembled. The age of massive fleets was over. The age of perfect ships had begun. 1 month after the great battle, ships from every major civilization gathered near Earth, not for war this time, but for a historic meeting. The planet's orbit was filled with vessels of all sizes and shapes, each one there to witness something unprecedented. Inside Earth Defense Command's main hall, Admiral Stone stood before representatives from 100 different species. The room was larger than the Galactic Council chamber, with wide windows showing Earth's beautiful blue surface below. "Welcome to Earth," she said, her voice calm but commanding. "A place that many of you once thought weak because we only had 50 ships." Screens around the hall showed images from the recent battles. The Drachnid fleet's defeat played out in silent detail. Many representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats, remembering their own mockery of Earth's small fleet. In the front row, the former High Commander Rex sat quietly. His once proud scales were dull, and his empire was now seeking peace talks. Beside him, the Centauri delegate glowed with a peaceful blue light. "Today," Stone continued, "marks a change in how the galaxy thinks about power. Captain Miller, show them." Miller stepped forward, and the screens changed to show something new. The Phoenix hovered in space, but it looked different. Its hull shimmered with patterns no one had seen before. "During the battles," Miller explained, "our ships didn't just defend. They learned, evolved. Each attack made them stronger, smarter, better." He pointed to the screens. "What you're seeing is the next generation of defensive technology." The Phoenix demonstrated its new capabilities. Its adaptive shields now changed color and pattern like a living rainbow. When test weapons fired at it, the shields didn't just block the attacks. They redirected the energy, using it to power the ship's systems. "Impossible," someone whispered, but everyone had learned not to underestimate Earth's impossible technology. Ambassador Wells stepped forward. "Earth offers peace to all, even those who once mocked us. But we also offer something more: knowledge." The screens showed new images, training facilities, research centers, and joint defense projects. "We will teach others how to build better ships," Wells explained. "Not our most advanced technology, but enough to change how everyone thinks about space defense." Rex stood up suddenly. The room tensed, but his voice was humble. "The Drachnid Empire," he paused, swallowing his pride, "requests to be the first to learn from Earth." Stone smiled. "Accepted. Because true strength isn't about defeating enemies. It's about turning them into friends." On the Phoenix, Ariah reported to Miller privately, "Captain, our ships have finished their latest evolution cycle. Defensive capabilities are now 500% stronger than during the first battle." Miller nodded, watching as more representatives stepped forward to sign Earth's peace treaties. "Keep that information classified, ARIA. Let them focus on learning the basics first." The Centauri delegate floated to the front. "What made humans think so differently?" he asked. "Why focus on perfecting 50 ships instead of building thousands?" Wells answered, "On Earth, we have a saying, quality over quantity. We learned this lesson through centuries of our own conflicts. Better to have one perfect tool than 1,000 flawed ones." As the meeting continued, Earth's 50 ships maintained their positions around the galaxy. Each one now protected entire sectors that once needed thousands of vessels. Their presence brought peace to trade routes that had been dangerous for centuries. Admiral Stone concluded the meeting with a final announcement. "From this day forward, Earth opens its Defense Academy to all peaceful species. Learn with us. Grow with us. Help us build a safer galaxy." The hall erupted in applause. Even former enemies joined in, understanding that this was the beginning of something new. As the representatives filed out, Stone, Wells, and Miller stood at the window, watching Earth's perfect fleet glitter among the stars. "They used to mock our tiny fleet," Miller said softly. "Now they understand," Stone replied. "It was never about the number of ships. It was about building something perfect," Wells finished, "and helping others do the same." Above them, Earth's 50 ships continued their eternal watch, no longer a source of mockery, but a symbol of how humanity had changed the galaxy forever. Power, they had proved wasn't about size. It was about being perfect.